Cause you no crawl by night, on them filthy ways that are not like it. Babylon I use might and I try fight right. I seek justice with genocide.
You're listening to the Kubandwa. Inside the classroom, we have the Grand Mufti and the Grand Sheikh. And we're talking about nationalities, Moorish Science Temple, because it's important. So when people speak of nationalities, as you know, we use words interchangeably, and we've been evolving. But what is this thing called nationality?
Well, nationality is what connects a living being to land, to a flag, to a culture, to a religion, to customs, to principles, and nationality is hinged on birthrights. So when you're born, your nationality is already supposed to be in place when you're born.
Okay.
Right? What happened during what they would call black history or the slavery era,
yes,
is that they took away our ability to be born into our nationality through our birthrights.
Okay.
Right? And for someone to do that, it's actually called something. Right? That's denationalization.
Okay.
So there's a process of nationalization, and then there's a process of denationalization. And what we say is racism, or the white man doesn't like us, or these sort of excuses that we make is really denationalization. It's not somebody's personal feelings toward you.
Yes.
If you are a being that is living and you don't have a nationality, then someone else has to naturalize you in order for you to belong to some type of nation.
So when we go to the citizenship court and we spend our 4 or 5 years in Canada, and we go to the citizenship court and we become naturalized, is
Right.
that the process happening?
That's the process of denationalization for some people, specifically indigenous people.
Yes.
So indigenous people to America, for example, will have to be denationalized in order to be a citizen of one of the corporate governments.
Yes. So okay, let's say this: the Aboriginal or Native people here who have a card, because that's how, I guess that's how they identify you.
Right.
They have a card that says they are from this place and they have certain rights. Like they might tell them you don't pay taxes.
Right.
They might tell some people in British Columbia that you're a sovereign government.
Right.
But yet all the time this corporation called government keep imposing, even bringing their own police forces into the sovereign nation.
Right.
Is the European confused about sovereignty, or they just don't have they don't care?
Those people, okay, for the first thing that you said, okay, well, when these people, they have their identification. Okay, that's the first problem.
Yes.
Right. Who's issuing the identification?
The oppressor.
All right. So.
And what are the labels?
So if the oppressor is issuing the identification, and identity in law means evidence, that person that's accepting that identification is proving that they belong to the person who owns the identification. And if something's owned by something, it's called property.
Yes. So how do we work this? You get pulled over on the street. Police pull you over. What do you do? I'm speaking to you specifically now, because we're gonna get it. I want to get it into the practical, everyday liberty of a man who knows his nationality. What do you do? The police, we have lots of them. They pull you over.
Well, because that you have to understand that people have this idea that if you are engaging with these people, that you have some type of obligation to them. Majority of people have never read a Metro Police handbook that you could get at the library that tells you that they are not police officers.
They're peace officers.
All right? That's what they say. That's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
So their job is to uphold the peace.
Yes.
Like, that's their only job. Serve and protect. It's on their car, and they don't argue with it. What's the first thing, just like the Indian example, what's the first thing that they ask you for?
Your ID.
Identification. And once you pull identification out of your pocket that belongs
to them,
to the oppressor, you are giving them authority, you are giving them jurisdiction, you are giving them permission to do whatever they want to you because you are property.
Okay, so what do you do?
Right?
I'm still bringing it back to you.
Right. So for myself, I have a nationality card that I would present to that peace officer.
Who make that nationality card?
Oh, it comes from the temple.
Okay.
Because Noble Drew Ali set up the Moorish Divine and National Movement in order to bring the denationalized people into a national status.
Yes.
That's why nobody knows about him. And you know about Marcus Garvey, and you know about Patrice Lumumba, and you know about Nani of the Maroons, and you know about all these people. But if anybody is asked about Noble Drew Ali, everybody gets a wrinkle in their eyebrows, like this is something new. When he's been around before, a lot of all those people that they claim that they know and say that they are African liberators, but they never heard about Noble Drew Ali before. That's an issue, because his purpose was to get our people to get out of that status of Negro, black, colored, Ethiopian, African, etc., and to come back into your right, correct status that is recognized by every nation on the planet, and every nation on the planet is waiting for the true inheritors of the planet to step up, and we haven't stepped up to date.
If you give the police this nationality card, what then transpires?
it depends on the level of understanding that that peace officer has. As a national, if you're improper person, this is how important it is to know who you are.
Do you have a card?
Yes,
I see the card,
national identity.
because I need to at least tell my listeners that they can't see the card because we're not on the outer net.
Right.
But this card says the Moorish American National Government, affixed here to the official seal and emblem of the Moorish American National Government upon this nationality, an identification card. Said card must be displayed where proper status is required. Blessed are they who carry this card. And it's got your thumbprint. It's got about 3 other symbols. One said 7 and another 2 symbols. And so you show them this. Have you ever showed them this card?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What usually happens when you do?
Again, it depends on the level of person that they get.
Have you ever gotten a person who knows about this?
To a degree. I mean, they know enough in the sense of that they don't really have the authority unless you give it, right? So that's why every time even if you just go to court and you just sit there, before a judge does anything or makes any decision, he always asks, do you understand? And everybody always says yes. Even though majority of those people don't even know what the judge just said. And they can really say, no, I don't understand. But they just think, well, I have to say yes. By saying yes, you're giving authority. And authority is hinged on jurisdiction.
What's the implication if the people unmask? The people say we want to get our nationality. What's the implication for their liberty, their day-to-day liberty? Because I met a young man who came up here the other day and he wanted to speak with me. And he said, he went to the court to fight the police, and every day now they pull him over.
Right.
So what's the implication if we all went and got our cards?
Well, and it will answer that question. For that brother's situation is his status. So if you're going to fight and asking for justice from the status of as property, you're not acting on your human rights that is already yours and that you don't have to ask nobody for. So our problem in Sankofa is Dred Scott case is a really good reference. One of the biggest cases to ever go in front of the Supreme Court is our brother named Dred Scott, G-R-E-D-S-C-O-T. It's a perfect example of you could be right, morally right in your case. You could be violated. But if you approach in an ignorant status, or if you approach conducting fraud yourself by saying you're these things and attaching yourself to things that you actually are not, and things are not of human status, you're contracting. And you're telling them that this is whom you are and deal with me accordingly. And also you're putting them in a position where they can't even give you lawful justice because you're not in the position to receive that. Because you're approaching them in this status, then that gives them jurisdiction to do whatever they want to, and they're not actually breaking the law. So our problem is we forgot the science of law. And it's not like law was not created by a European. Law is something that was derived from divine law, and it's universal. And these are basic principles that were secured in the Constitution of the United States of America.
And secured in the Constitution. So the Charter of Rights and the Constitution Act of Canada and the United States Constitution don't give people rights. Those secure the rights. That's the barrel that carries the rights. So people could walk and they don't have to walk around with a barrel of rights. They can just point to the Constitution and say, okay, well, my rights are being held right there, if you have any problems.
But the problem is you got to enforce that. We are the law. As in a republic, in a free society, the people are the government. The people are the law, and the people are the ones who choose their destinies. So if you're contracting like everything in society and universal, everybody contracts, whether it's verbal, written, and there's also implied. So to go back to your question in terms of, you'll see examples when the peace officers will pull somebody over who's in a car. The first thing is they have to go through steps. They got to go through status, and then go to jurisdiction and then adjudication, which is why they always have to ask you for your identification. If you give it, that's signing a contract. As we mentioned earlier, contract can be verbal, written, even implied.
What if I said no?
That's your right.
Then what if they beat me up?
Then you're supposed to have the right status so you can seek remedy for somebody abusing you. Because if you're going to go to the SIU and say, SIU, these guys beat me up, SIU is going to do their whatever they do, right? And then they're going to come back and say that either, yes, it did happen, so we're going to
talk with them,
speak with them and have an investigation and suspend them and whatever the case is. Or they're going to say, nah, you're making a frivolous claim and not do anything.
Okay, what about the young people who are going down? They're going down to January 6th. They're going down at 7:45 a.m. to College Street, 40 College Street, because the police officer shot this young man, Eric Asawe, and they want the charges upgraded to first-degree murder. And the officer who did that, David Kavanaugh, was charged with manslaughter. What would be your suggestion? Is this a thing that people should go there with that fervor, like 2,000 people to go and march and say we want, we want these charges upgraded? What, are we participating in the system? What?
Well, based on our past patterns of picketing, we don't even have to answer that question.